Welcome back to Real Family Secrets. Some marriages end with screaming. Mine ended with a voice message my wife never meant for me to hear. My name is Michael Hayes. At 4:17 on a Thursday afternoon, my wife sent me a 42-second voice note meant for another man. I can't wait for this weekend. 2 whole days with no pretending. Just you and me. 20 minutes later, she called and asked me to make dinner. Daniel is coming over tonight, she said. He's important for the contract. Please make an effort. Daniel Price, the man she had just promised a weekend alone with. Sophie and I had been married for 14 years. We met in our late 20s at a friend's charity event. She was standing beside a silent auction table, arguing with a volunteer because they had misspelled the name of a local artist. I remember thinking she looked too determined to be having fun. Then she turned, saw me watching, and said, "If you're going to stand there, at least bid on something." I bid on a painting I could not afford. She laughed at me for it. For years, that laugh was one of my favorite sounds in the world. I worked in commercial property development. Not the glamorous kind people imagine from television, but the slow, difficult kind. Zoning meetings, financing problems, construction schedules, investors who wanted certainty in an industry built on risk. Sophie worked in marketing. She was brilliant with people, confident in rooms where I preferred to listen, and capable of making almost anyone feel like their idea had been hers all along. Together, we built a comfortable life. We had a home in a quiet neighborhood outside the city, a daughter, Lucy, who was 12 and had recently decided that every adult conversation was boring until it involved her. We had Sunday breakfasts, family movie nights, a dog named Walter who thought every visitor had arrived specifically to see him. We also had routines, and sometimes routines are so familiar that you do not notice when one person stops living inside them. It had started gradually. Sophie began coming home later from the office. The team is preparing for a new client pitch. Then she started taking calls in the garden. "It's Daniel. He's worried about the regional expansion plan." Then she began traveling for what she called brand alignment meetings. Daniel's name became ordinary in our home. Daniel thinks the numbers could work. Daniel wants another presentation before he signs. Daniel knows people who can make this happen. Daniel Price was the managing partner at Price Meridian Capital, a regional investment firm. My company had spent nearly 9 months negotiating with his firm on a major redevelopment project, a vacant industrial property near the river that we hoped to turn into offices, small retail spaces, and affordable studios for local businesses. The deal was large enough to change the direction of my company. It was also large enough to make Daniel an important person in our lives. At least, that was what I thought he was. That Thursday, I was in my office reviewing final projections for the project. Rain tapped against the windows. My assistant had gone home early. The building was quiet, except for the hum of the air conditioning and the occasional elevator bell in the hall. My phone lit up on the desk. Sophie's name appeared. I smiled automatically. That is the part one remember most clearly. I smiled before I pressed play. I can't wait for this weekend. 2 whole days with no pretending. Just you and me. I already told Michael the first visiting my sister. He won't ask questions. He never does. And honestly, I'm tired of feeling guilty. I want to wake up next to you without checking the time. Call me when you can. I love you. Message ended. The office stayed exactly the same. Rain on the glass. Empty hallway. A spreadsheet open on my laptop, but nothing in my life was the same. I listened to it again, then a third time. I did not hear uncertainty. I heard planning. I heard my name used as a tool. He won't ask questions. He never does. That sentence hurt more than "I love you," because she was right. I had trusted her enough not to ask. My first instinct was to call her. I wanted to ask who Daniel was to her. I wanted to ask how long it had been happening. I wanted to hear her panic, but I did not call. I had spent 14 years knowing Sophie well enough to understand one thing. If I confronted her before I understood the whole picture, she would have time to build a better lie. I saved the voice message. I forwarded it to a secure personal email account. I saved a copy to an encrypted drive in my office safe. Then I sat still for several minutes and stared at the rain. When people imagine betrayal, they picture rage. Mine arrived as focus. At 4:38, Sophie called. "Hey, love." "Hey, did you get my message?" I looked at the waveform on my phone screen. I did. "Oh, good. I meant to tell you Daniel is coming over tonight." "Daniel Price?" "Yes. He's in town for the final contract review tomorrow, and I thought it would be nice if we had him over. Informal. Friendly. We need him to see that we're a team." "A team? What time?" 7:30. "Can you make that pasta you do? The one with the roasted tomatoes?" I could hear traffic behind her. She was probably in her car. I wondered whether she had already spoken to Daniel after sending the message. "Sure," I said. "I'll make dinner, thank you. I knew I could count on you." That was the second part that hurt. She was right about that too. I left the office at 6. On the drive home, I did not play music. I passed the coffee shop Sophie liked, the park where Lucy learned to ride a bicycle, the Italian restaurant where Sophie and I had celebrated our 10th anniversary. Every place looked normal. That felt almost offensive. When I got home, Walter ran to the front door. He spun in small circles, tail hitting the wall. I bent down and scratched behind his ears. "Hey, buddy." He did not know anything had changed. Lucy was upstairs finishing homework. Sophie had not come home yet. I opened the refrigerator and started cooking. Tend, and I chopped garlic. I sliced tomatoes. I heated olive oil in the pan and listened to it crackle. I had made the same meal for Sophie dozens of times. It had been our first dinner after we moved into this house. She had sat at the kitchen counter with a glass of wine and said, "This tastes like we finally became adults." Now I was preparing it for the man she loved. I did not poison anything. I did not spit in the food. I did not need to become someone I was not, because they had become people I did not recognize. Sophie came in just after 7. She wore a navy dress I had bought for her birthday 2 years earlier. Her hair was carefully styled. She smelled like the perfume she only wore for events that mattered. I wondered if she had dressed for Daniel. "That smells incredible," she said. "Lucy?" My sister picked her up. "She's sleeping over there tonight." Sophie had arranged for our daughter not to be home. This dinner had never been about business. "You planned that?" "Planned what?" "Lucy staying away. Daniel is a business guest, Michael." I didn't think she'd enjoy sitting through adult conversation all evening. I nodded. "Right." Sophie watched me for a moment. "Are you okay?" "Why wouldn't I be? You seem quiet." I almost laughed. "Long day. Tomorrow will be worth it. Once the deal is signed, we can finally breathe." "We." There was that word again. The doorbell rang at 7:34. Sophie's shoulders lifted almost imperceptibly. It was a small movement, but it was not the way a woman reacts when an investor arrives for dinner. It was the way she reacted when the man she loved stood on the other side of the door. I opened it. Daniel Price stood on the porch, holding a bottle of expensive red wine. He was 45, perhaps 46, tall, athletic in the way people are when they have enough time and money to pay attention to their bodies. His suit was dark gray, his smile polished and easy. "Michael, thank you for having me." "Daniel." He shook my hand. His grip was confident. I wondered if he had shaken my hand like that after touching my wife. "Daniel," Sophie said from behind me. Her voice changed, only slightly, but it changed. "Sophie," he said. They looked at each other for half a second too long. Then Daniel stepped inside my home. Dinner began politely. We sat at our dining table beneath the pendant light Sophie had chosen after spending 3 weekends comparing fixtures. The room held family photographs, Lucy's school pictures, our wedding photo, a framed postcard from our trip to Lisbon. Daniel sat beneath the photograph from our 10th anniversary. He complimented the food. Michael, this is excellent. Thank you. Sophie smiled at him, not a big smile, not an obvious one, but it was the smile I had spent years believing belonged to me. We discussed the project. Daniel asked questions about projected occupancy, development costs, tenant commitments, and construction schedules. I answered every one. I had spent years preparing for investors like him. I had also spent the afternoon realizing that I had trusted him with more than a contract. Your company is well positioned, Daniel said. The numbers are conservative. That's rare. Conservative numbers keep people from making promises they can't keep. Sophie looked at me. She heard the sentence, but she did not understand it yet. Michael has always been careful, she said. Sometimes too careful. Daniel laughed lightly. Careful is good, especially when you're building something lasting. I looked at him. I agree. Sophie reached for her wine. Her hand trembled just enough for the glass to touch the table. Daniel continued talking. Honestly, it's been refreshing getting to know Sophie through the process. She sees things from a different angle. She's bold. She takes risks. Sophie's eyes stayed on her plate. I watched Daniel smile at her. She's been incredibly helpful. I'm sure she has. Dessert came and went. The plates were cleared. Walter slept in the corner near the bookshelf. Rain had stopped, leaving small trails of water on the windows. Daniel stood to leave. Thank you again, both of you. This was exactly what I needed before tomorrow. Before you go, I said. There's something I need to ask. Sophie froze. Daniel looked at me, still smiling, of course. How long have you known my wife? Through the project? 4 months, maybe 5, and outside the project. The smile left his face. Sophie looked at me. For the first time that night, she looked afraid. Michael, she said. What is this? I asked Daniel a question. Daniel set his wine glass down. I'm not sure what you're implying. You are sure. I took my phone from my pocket. I had thought about playing the message all through dinner, but I had not yet spoken to an attorney, and I was not going to make a decision based only on anger, no matter how justified that anger might be. So I did not press play. It's late, I said. We'll discuss the contract tomorrow. Daniel stared at me. Good night, Daniel. He understood, without another word. He picked up his coat and left. Sophie did not follow him to the door. When the front door closed, Sophie turned to me. What did you hear? There are questions that answer themselves. You tell me. Her face lost color. Michael, I can explain. Not tonight. You don't even know. I know enough to understand that you sent me a message meant for Daniel. I know enough to understand you called me 20 minutes later and asked me to host him in our home. She started crying. It wasn't supposed to happen. What wasn't? Any of it. How long? She looked away. 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of late meetings, phone calls in the garden, weekend trips, new perfume. Every moment I had noticed and then explained away because I loved her. 6 months of choosing Daniel. It started when we were working on the presentation, she said. He made me feel seen. I nodded once. And I didn't? That's not what I mean. Then tell me what you mean. I felt like everything in our life had become about work, about Lucy, about bills. You were always tired. Daniel listened. So you had an affair? Yes, she waited for me to shout. I did not. The truth is, I did not have enough energy left for shouting. You'll sleep in the guest room tonight. Michael, please, tomorrow. I'm speaking to an attorney. You can speak to one too. Until then, do not touch our accounts. Do not contact Daniel. Do not delete anything. You think I would. I don't know what you would do anymore. I slept in Lucy's room. Her walls were covered with pale yellow paint and small framed drawings of animals she had made when she was younger. I lay on top of the blanket and stared at the ceiling. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I heard Sophie crying behind the guest room door. I did not feel victorious. I felt like someone had died. Not Sophie, the version of my marriage I had believed in. The next morning, I called an attorney named Laura Bennett. Laura had represented one of my colleagues through a difficult divorce years earlier. She was precise, calm, and known for stopping people from doing foolish things while they were angry. Michael, she said, before you confront business partners or move money, I need you to come in. Bring records you already lawfully have access to. We'll talk through your options. That was exactly what I needed. I met her at 10. I brought our joint account statements, mortgage paperwork, tax returns, business agreements, and the voice message. Laura listened to the recording once. She did not react dramatically. Then she asked questions. Does Sophie have a role in your company? No. She works independently. But she helped with presentations for Daniel's firm. Does Daniel have authority over the deal? Yes. Final approval, investment release, and terms. Then personal involvement may create a conflict that affects the business side as well. But do not make threats. Do not distribute the recording. Do not use the divorce as leverage in negotiations. I don't want revenge. Laura looked at me for a moment. Good. Then we can protect your future, instead of creating a mess that harms it. We reviewed the finances. At first, nothing looked obvious. Grocery expenses, utilities, mortgage payments, school activities, insurance. Then Laura stopped at a transfer from our joint savings account. What is Meridian Events LLC? I don't know. There were 3 payments, $2,000, then $1,800. Then $3,200, all made during the last 4 months. Laura checked the dates against other statements. The payments lined up with Sophie's supposed work trips. One was sent 2 days before her marketing conference in Charleston. Another was sent before the weekend she said she was visiting her sister. I called the bank from Laura's office. The representative confirmed that the transfers had been authorized through our shared online account. Sophie had used money from the life we built together to help fund the life she was building with Daniel. I sat very still. Then I asked Laura the only question that mattered. What do I do now? First, we document. Second, we protect the joint finances through appropriate legal channels. Third, you decide whether you can separate your company from Daniel's firm without damaging your employees or exposing yourself to unreasonable risk. She paused. And Michael? Do not sign that investment agreement tomorrow. I returned home in the afternoon. Sophie was sitting at the kitchen table. She looked exhausted. Her makeup was gone. Her phone sat face down beside a mug of untouched coffee. There was a time when seeing her like that would have made me abandon everything to comfort her. But compassion and trust are not the same thing. Did you talk to a lawyer? She asked. Yes, and I know about Meridian Events. She looked at me. What? The transfers from our joint savings. The money you used for the trips with Daniel. Michael, I was going to put it back. When? I don't know. Did Daniel know? She did not answer. Did he know? Yes. No, I nodded. It was almost a relief, not because it hurt less, because the uncertainty was ending. So he knew you were married. Yes. He knew we had a daughter. Yes. He knew the money came from our joint account. Yes. Sophie covered her face. I'm sorry. I believe you are sorry. She looked up. But I don't know what you are sorry for yet. Losing me? Losing him? Losing the life you thought you could keep while having both? She had no answer. Lucy comes home tomorrow evening. Until we know what we're doing, we will not involve her in this. We will not make her carry our decisions, okay? And Daniel is coming to dinner tomorrow night. What? You heard me, Michael. Please don't do this. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to threaten him. I'm not going to humiliate you. I looked directly at her, but he will hear the truth in the house he helped lie inside. Huh. Sis. The next day, I spent the morning at my office. I called my leadership team and told them we were delaying the investment agreement. I did not give them personal details. There are governance concerns on the investor side, I said. We are reviewing alternatives. No one is losing a job. No one is being blamed. But we are not rushing into a deal that may compromise the company. My operations director, Maya, exhaled. I'm glad you said that. Daniel Price's team has been pushing us to sign faster than I'm comfortable with. Why? They wanted us to transfer certain property rights into a holding company before the final funding release. I thought it was unusual. My stomach tightened. Send me everything. Every version of the term sheet. Every email already on its way. By noon, I had more than a marriage problem. Daniel's firm had proposed a structure that would place control of the redevelopment property in a newly created entity. The entity was partially controlled by a company connected to Daniel's private investment group. My company would carry much of the construction risk. Daniel's side would gain control if the project failed to meet aggressive timelines he had helped set. It was not necessarily illegal, but it was designed to make Daniel powerful, and he had been using my wife to make me trust him. I sent the documents to Laura. Her reply came 20 minutes later. Do not sign. Bring in independent counsel for the deal. And Michael, whatever happens at dinner, keep the business issues separate from the affair. You are allowed to protect both your marriage interests and your company interests. Just do it cleanly. I will. Will. Daniel arrived at 7:30 the following evening. He looked less comfortable this time. Maybe Sophie had warned him. Maybe he had spent the night wondering whether I had proof, or maybe men like Daniel simply knew when the room had stopped belonging to them. I let him in. Sophie is in the dining room. He nodded. His eyes moved through the house, perhaps searching for Lucy. Our daughter is with my sister tonight. He understood what that meant. We sat at the dining table again, the same table, the same chairs, the same pendant light, but this time there was no food, only 3 glasses of water, a folder, my phone, and the silence none of us could escape. Daniel spoke first. Michael, I think we should address the project. We will. But first, I want to ask you something. All right. Did you know Sophie was married when you began seeing her? Daniel looked at Sophie. She stared down at the table. Michael, I don't think. Yes or no? Daniel swallowed. Yes. Did you know she had a daughter? Yes. Did you know she was using money from our joint savings account to fund trips with you? Daniel's face changed. Sophie closed her eyes. Yes. I opened the folder. Inside were copies of the transfers, the hotel confirmations Sophie had emailed to herself from the shared computer, and the term sheets Maya had sent me. I did not need to display every detail. They already knew what was there. You know what I find interesting? Neither of them answered. You both made the same mistake. Daniel leaned back slightly. You thought I was passive because I was trusting. You thought I was careful because I was afraid. You thought that because I did not create drama, I would not see what was in front of me. Sophie began crying quietly. Daniel's hands tightened around his glass. Michael, I'm sorry, Daniel said. I never intended for this to affect your company. I looked at him. You were sleeping with my wife while negotiating a deal that would put my company under your control. That is not what the term sheet does. It gives your holding company control of the property rights if the project falls behind a schedule you demanded. Daniel said nothing. You asked me to trust your numbers while you were lying to my face in my own home. Then Daniel did something almost unbelievable. He looked at Sophie and said, I appreciate how brave you've been through all of this. The room became completely silent. Sophie looked up at him. Her face changed. I think that was the moment she saw him differently, not as the man who had made her feel seen, as the man who thought her betrayal was a quality he could praise. Brave, I repeated. Daniel shifted in his chair. That's an interesting word. I picked up my phone. Sophie started shaking her head. Michael, please. You had 6 months to speak honestly. I spoke to my attorney. The financial records are preserved. The business documents are with independent counsel. The actions I take from this point forward will be legal, professional, and final. I looked at Daniel, and now you get to hear what I heard. I pressed play. I can't wait for this weekend. 2 whole days with no pretending. Just you and me. I already told Michael the first visiting my sister. He won't ask questions. He never does. And honestly, I'm tired of feeling guilty. I want to wake up next to you without checking the time. Call me when you can. I love you. No one spoke after it ended. The message had been 42 seconds long. It felt like an hour. Sophie covered her mouth. Daniel looked at the table. You can leave now, I said. Daniel looked up. Michael, the investment agreement is over. My attorneys will send formal notice tomorrow. Any communication about the company goes through independent counsel. Any communication about Sophie goes through my attorney as well. You do not come to my home again. Daniel stood. He looked like he wanted to say something meaningful, but there are moments when a person has spent too long using words as tools. Eventually, words stop working. He picked up his coat and left. Sophie remained at the table. I ruined everything. You ruined what we had. Can we fix it? I looked around the room, at the photographs, at the table, at the place where my daughter ate cereal every morning before school. I don't know. She looked up. But I know this. There is no fixing anything while Daniel is in your life. There is no fixing anything while you are still trying to explain why it happened instead of understanding what you chose. And there is no fixing anything tonight. Tomorrow, you will arrange somewhere else to stay for a while. Okay, we will tell Lucy that we are having adult problems and that none of it is her fault. We will not make her choose sides. We will not make her carry our shame, okay? That was the only word she had left. The next few weeks were not dramatic. That is something nobody tells you. After a betrayal, life does not turn into a movie. It becomes paperwork. Calendar changes, separate rooms, conversations about school pickup, insurance, bills, and who will explain the empty closet to a child. Sophie moved into a small apartment near her office. We began separation proceedings. Lucy cried when we told her we would not be living in the same house for a while. I held her hand. Mom and Dad both love you, I told her. This is not because of you. You did nothing wrong. She nodded. But children understand far more than adults wish they did. On the business side, I withdrew from Daniel's deal. It was difficult. We lost months of negotiations. We had to delay construction. Some people questioned whether I was making the right decision, but Maya and the independent counsel helped us restructure the project. Instead of placing the property under Daniel's private holding company, we built a new financing group from smaller local investors, a credit union, and a development fund that valued stable long-term ownership. It took longer, but it was ours. 3 months later, Daniel resigned from Price Meridian Capital. I learned it through a short public announcement. There had been an internal review involving undisclosed personal conflicts connected to an active investment process. I did not celebrate. I did not call anyone to spread the story. His consequences belonged to him. Sophie tried to reach me often at first. I know I made a terrible mistake. I ended things with Daniel. I'll do counseling. I'll do anything. I believed that she was hurting, but pain after being caught is not always proof of change. So I set boundaries. We spoke about Lucy. We spoke through attorneys about finances. We attended family counseling to help our daughter through the transition. But I did not offer Sophie a promise I did not feel. Almost a year later, I stood inside the renovated riverfront building. The project had opened. There were small studios on the upper floors, a local bakery on the corner, a bookstore, an architecture firm, and a community space where young entrepreneurs could work without paying impossible downtown rents. Maya stood beside me at the opening reception. You know, she said, if you had signed Daniel's deal, this place would probably be a luxury hotel by now. Maybe. She looked around at the crowded room. Instead, it belongs to the city. I smiled. That was the point. Later that evening, Lucy came by with my sister. She walked through the building, looked at the large windows facing the river, and said, Dad, you made this? A lot of people made it, but you didn't give up. I had to look away for a second. No, I said. I didn't. I still think about that voice note sometimes, not because I replay it. I deleted it after the legal process was complete. I do not need a recording to remember what betrayal sounds like, but I also remember what happened after. I did not destroy my business. I did not turn my daughter into a weapon. I did not become cruel just because I had been hurt. I left the deal that was built on hidden control. I built something independent, and I learned that peace is not pretending nothing happened. Peace is refusing to keep paying for someone else's lie. Sophie thought she sent a voice note to the wrong person, but she did not. She sent it to the man who finally understood that he did not have to keep living in a life where he accepted deception as love. She thought she had made a mistake with the recipient. In reality, she sent me the exit from a life where I agreed to live with lies. If this story moved you, subscribe for more true family stories, and tell us in the comments, would you have confronted them immediately or waited until every important detail was protected?
Yeah. City hum bleeds through the tin, moon stuck on repeat. Engine island like it's breathing for me. Oh. I've been drifting through the night like I lost my name. Neon smear on the dash, mind caught in the flame. Phone buzzing but the signal feels haunted. Shadows in the backseat move like they want it. Legends in my head say push it, don't fold, but the weight on my chest feel dipped in gold. I'm swerving past memories I never outgrew, and the cost of this climb keeps changing the view. These painted lights know too much about me. Every mile pulls another truth out clean. My pulse taps slow off beat, like it's scared of what the night might see. I've been running through the dark with a ghost on my back, trying to outpace thoughts that always double back. Stars bend down like they watching where I go, but I can't shake the fire burning under my shadow. Yeah. Under my shadow. Backroom dreams still stain my jacket. Cold glass whispers like it know my habits. Your voice echo in the halls of my head. Off key, half sweet, half dangerous red. I'm climbing through a skyline stitched from mistakes, threaded in the smoke from the moves I make. My breath fogs up. The truth on the mirror and fate keeps knocking, but it's never any clearer. These painted lights know too much about me. Every mile pulls another truth out clean. My pulse taps slow off beat, like it's scared of what the night might see. I've been running through the dark with a ghost on my back, trying to outpace thoughts that always double back. Stars bend down like they're watching where I go, but I can't shake the fire burning under my shadow. Yeah. Under my shadow. Steady, steady. The ground arms deep like a warning I can't name. I whisper, hold on, but it sounds like two voices. One of them ain't mine. I've been running through the dark with a ghost on my back, trying to outpace thoughts that always double back. Stars bend down like they watching where I go, but I can't shake the fire burning under my shadow. Yeah. Under my shadow. Road curves, mind blurs, and the night writes my name in smoke again.